We're live.
We're live. All right.
We're not technically live. We're recording.
Okay.
And
Well,
we're
that's good
live.
because I was worried. Well, welcome to the 16th episode of The Rec Room. 16. We're legal to drive now and possibly get drafted in the next World War.
Sweet. I can't wait.
And of course, we got Mr. Mike Pasca here. We got Josh Massier over there. And we got our guest, Justin. I'm sorry, what's your last name again?
Kalibaba.
Kali Baba. Nice to meet
I'll
you,
just
man.
push that closer to you.
And,
there. Put it right in your mouth.
Yeah.
Justin,
So we can hear
you're going to get inducted into the rec room right now. So basically what we were talking about is, well, basically it's a general mental health kind of episode, but it's kind of focused on a little bit of COVID's been rampant for the last however long. We've all been stressed out about
Actually,
that.
2 years today it was declared a pandemic.
Really? Okay. Well, I did not know that.
Happy
Thank
anniversary.
you. There we go.
So fitting.
2 years
like,
ago
I
today,
like-
people
I like
were
your
hoarding
new-
toilet paper.
I like your new hairstyle.
Yeah, it's it's easier.
Low maintenance,
Does
man.
Sleek.
Do the
I'm-
carpets match the drapes? Or
Well, technically it's hardwood floors then, right? So.
Usually I'm a little lazy at it.
But basically, I'm wondering, COVID, like you said, 2 years ago became a pandemic. We've all been stressed out about that for the last 2 years. Now that the war's coming in, suddenly we don't seem to really give a shit. It's almost like it
Didn't
just
exist.
disappeared.
Oh, it did disappear. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I'm wondering, how do you guys feel about that? Do you feel that it's just because this is such a big story, so we're not really focusing on it, or was it they were kind of over pushing it just to kind of keep us all, stressed out, on edge, and worried, like the media seems to do all the fucking time?
I think he was wanting everyone to be afraid, and
I can get deep into this. Like,
Well, that's why we're here, bud.
This, to me,
balls deep.
I'm 50-50 on if it was really as bad as they say it was, or if it's really just a huge money grab from the whole fucking ordeal. I don't know. I noticed on social media, I followed you. I noticed you were not on Facebook anymore, but
No, I'm not.
Oh,
but I think that's
I've been
because
flirting with that idea hard
I did
last
that
week.
a couple of weeks ago. Good
I'm like
That's
this
fucking
close,
excessive.
you're
man.
leaving them hanging here.
Yeah, you gotta
you
you
get
don't
me
leave
hanging
them
here.
hanging. Fist bump it.
Sorry. I'm not paying
fellow
attention
non-Facebooker.
So we have 2 and 2 here.
It might be 3 and 1 by next week. I don't
Really, the
know.
only
I was
reason,
really thinking about
the
it.
reason I'm on there is because of this, and that's really that in Marketplace.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the only thing that kept me. It was just our group chat we have, like, and doing this. But yeah. So was that something you've done a while ago, or is that a recent?
I would say probably, I don't know, maybe close to a year ago now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just kinda
And
had
is
enough of
is
that.
the world rosier? Because
Honestly, yeah, like a little bit. Well, big picture, no. Like the world, no. But
but I'm talking your
My-
take on it.
my little circle, my world, yeah, like when you're seeing it, everyone's stupid arguing and it's literally just a platform for people to just kind of spout off and just kind of, some people, I mean, obviously whether they're in line with your views or not, you're gonna enjoy certain things more than others, but yeah, like for the most part, for me, it was just ridiculous, so
I think
getting
probably
rid of it, I immediately actually felt like immediately I was like a weight off my chest. Like it was just nice not to have. So I like to use like Instagram and stuff. You can kind of control what you see on there a lot more and stuff. And,
Yes.
So
it's still, but
when I followed you on Facebook, you also were posting, going kind of towards the end, you were posting a lot about the whole vaccine push and everything like that too.
yeah.
And your take on that, I'd like to hear a couple things on your actual take on that and see how it actually like affected you, because you never did get your shot, did you?
I did not. No.
And the past couple of years, it probably
Sorry, guys. No.
No, trust me.
This is
it
the
was
super spreader here.
Well,
it was.
he
You want to
was-
talk
he-
about something that, like, one of the very few government decisions that literally
I'm just gonna dick
I
with this
felt-
microphone while you talk.
I felt fucking disgusting when I got it, because I didn't agree with it. I was all about, people should be allowed to choose.
Yeah.
And getting that done. Yeah. I mean, I did it for work, right? Just to kind of the ease of not having to test
Yeah.
myself every day. But yeah, man, good
So
for you.
So you're a provincial government employee, I'm guessing that?
No, I was
okay.
just, it was just one of those things. They said
Still for your job.
They never
were following-
mandated it, but it was, well, you got to get these tests, the expensive test, which was, I don't know, like $100 and some every week.
Yeah.
So
First.
essentially,
Do you notice how
they
the price
put a
like,
fucking
slowly went down of this?
Well, of course
like,
it did. But I think, like I said, when it did happen to me, it was a sneaky kind of backdoor way of putting a fine on not getting vaccinated. Like if you didn't get vaccinated, you now had to pay this fine every day to go to work.
It'd be interesting.
It was disgusting.
It'd be interesting to know how many of the provincial governments, like whatever province, say Saskatchewan or whatever, had affiliations with any of those places that opened up immediately after for testing, right?
guarantee, man.
Like it'd be interesting. I kind of just thought of that
Guarantee.
right now, but
That is, yeah.
I mean, like they had to have their fingers in that in those places, and like Josh
Yep.
said, they open up and it was like $100 at first. So I mean, your decision was made when like that fucking adds up every.
Oh yeah,
whenever
man,
week
over
you're
like
spending,
a month, you're spending
Yeah.
$400 just to go to work.
Yeah, I mean, when I was working at Fort Mac, if you didn't have the shot, you had to go in for a test every 3 days, every 72 hours, and that was $160 a shot.
That's what I mean. It wasn't just those little like, as if it was a rapid test, I would have just said, "Fuck it." My fiance's a nurse. She brings home boxes of them because she gets them for free, and I would have been fine with that. Taking a little swab every day, 15. I usually did that anyway when it was really worrying.
and that's like in the end of your nose,
Yeah,
not,
you just-
not like on your brain.
Yeah, you don't actually have to touch your spine with it.
Have you gotten a test at all?
I actually, so I was living in Kelowna for a little bit, not very long, like less than 6 months, and I moved back here. So I wasn't working last year, and I didn't have to make that decision like you did, and a lot of people did, I guess. And basically, I got hired with the provincial government, but it's like such a process, like with interviewing and like just a whole bunch of stuff. And I actually I applied. I must have been in like March, so basically a year ago, and I just started training at the end of January. So the first week, and it was how they had it for this job was you have to test every week on your own time and dollar, or you have to show your proof of vaccination, right? So I did one for the first week. Second week rolls on. I did another one. I found a place. It was like right by my gym. It was $20. So I ended up doing 2, and then Scott Moe lifted everything.
Nice.
So in this whole entire time, really all I've had to do is take two $20 like they didn't even the people don't even like put it in your nose really. It was kind of I was expecting them to like shove this way up your nose, and I was like, oh, this sucks, but whatever. Yeah, they just like tickle the end of your nose, whatever, and then it went away. So I really lucked out, I guess. But
Yeah, no doubt.
But I'm just on the whole thing, like Josh said, I'm just like pro. People have to have the ability to make that decision for themselves, right? Because there's dangers and stuff that there's no arguing that anymore, right? Like there's some sketchy things with it. So I mean, you need to have that ability to make your own decisions, what's going in your body and stuff, right? If people want it, like I know I have friends and family, like lots of people, obviously I know that are, but and lots that aren't, but they need to. I think people should have that decision. That's kind of where I stand on that. But.
Yeah, no, I think everybody here would kind of agree with you. Yeah. Did you guys ever feel that, or did you guys ever get any of that kind of heat? Because it tended to be anybody like us who kind of thought it was okay to let people choose. Like I don't care if you get it. I don't care if you don't get it. It's not my place to say. But as soon as you said that, you weren't just a person who was trying to advocate for choice. You were an anti-vaxxer, which I am 100% not against vaccines. I know what they are. I know how good they can be.
Your fiance is a nurse.
Well, that's what I mean. It's I mean, I got vaccinated as a kid. I know all about these things. I'm not against vaccines, but as soon as you said I don't want to, people would.
Oh, it's
kind of like fucking vaccine shame you.
It caused so much division down the road, and like I'm sure you probably got backlash from that too, from people that you were probably close to. And
yeah, you ever get any stink eyes from friends or family, kind of about, well, why aren't you getting it?
Honestly, not a whole lot.
Well,
I have a pretty small circle, so I mean that you know what I mean. I mean someone that's kind of interacting with 1,000 people every week or whatever, but without the fact that I wasn't working and stuff like that, and kind of keeping to myself, I guess I didn't really run into too many issues. Like I actually did. The one that's most interesting, I guess, is my parents are both fully vaccinated, and my dad and his girlfriend I remember he kind of gave me a call one day. I was supposed to go over there for coffee. And he's like, yeah, we'd feel a little bit more comfortable being that you're not vaccinated if you don't, come over to the house anymore. And I was just kind of,
Whoa.
and my dad's not, I think it's from his girlfriend's kind of really bought into a lot of things. And,
Yeah.
And, they're like sit in front of the TV and watch news all day, every day. And kind of that's where they get their
Drinking the
information.
Kool-Aid, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that was, and his whole life, he is 70 now, or he'll be 70 next month. So he in his whole life, he's not like that at all. Like he's very.
Has anybody?
So it was interesting. I was kind of like, sorry.
No, it's just
I
keep
basically
going,
was just
buddy.
like, I was like, I can't fucking believe this. Really, I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
that's-
I was like, are you serious?
That's gotta hurt, Dad. Telling you, we don't want to deal with you until you get fucking on the
Yeah.
train that we're on.
I thought he was joking. Honestly, I'm like, "Are you joking?" He's like, "No, like we're just scared." I was like, "Okay, well, I respect that. Whatever." I was like, "Well, chat later." And I literally, this would have been, when was that? Man, this was like 4 months ago, maybe 5
Oh,
months
was
ago.
it pretty recent then?
Probably I'd say that's probably a good 5 months ago. I have not seen the guy since then.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not even with the mandates dropped? He's not.
He hasn't
relaxed
He's
on it?
called me and asked me about work and stuff like that once since then, and that's it. But like once they dropped everything, yeah, no.
So have any of you guys? I don't remember. Did anybody of you guys actually get COVID? You got it twice.
I got it.
Twice, and you got it.
Yeah.
You did get
Honestly, I didn't even get sick. Like, I mean, I had a bit
No.
of a headache for a day.
I think every time I tested, I was negative.
I got sick once. I've been sick like once in the last 3 years, and it would have been in probably, I guess, August or September, and I never went and got tested. I felt like shit and had like a fever for like not like a day and a half, close to 2 days, and it was like pretty shitty. And then it just turned into like the worst head cold, but it lasted like 2 weeks. I don't ever get sick, and if I have in the past, like a lot, I'll get like sinus infections, whatever, or colds, and they like kind of a few days and they go away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like a solid 2 weeks of just feeling like a bag of shit. I never got tested. I didn't go anywhere to do anything. I wasn't
Yeah.
working. So
I think I had it
Self-isolation.
in.
I'm guessing I possibly had
Could have
it,
been.
But was anyone else? When anyone else, like when you guys were sick, was it like a 2 week thing? Like did it last forever? No.
No, like I said,
Well,
The
mine.
first time I got it was the worst thing I ever had.
Really?
Really?
And it was, probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Really? It was that
Yeah,
intense for
yeah, It
you?
was fucking insane.
Yeah.
Just beats the
fever
shit
the
out of
whole
some
time,
people.
just real exhausted, coughing
like,
cold, all that kind of shit.
Fever and head cold and just toast. Like I was just
Yeah, mine was basically like the worst head cold for 2 weeks.
yeah. And then the second time I had it was like you had a headache for a couple hours, and then
Yeah, because that was the worst of mine. I mean, like I said, I was only really testing because at work there had been a bit of an outbreak. A lot of guys were getting it, so they just said, do a rapid test before you come to work. And one day I was feeling a little down. Like after work, it was like late at night. I did a test. It had a line, so I said okay. And I had a headache for like the first day, maybe two, and then I was fine for the rest of it. Like, my girlfriend would come home every day and she'd be like, "Are you feeling good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But you have to do that whole 5-day isolation thing.
Yeah.
By the second day, I was like, "Well, fuck this. I feel like I should go to work. I'm fine." But you have to give it the whole time, right? So
I
whatever.
think I had it in December of 2019 before the whole thing was actually.
Yeah,
'Cause
before
I-
it was
I-
officially COVID kind
Yeah,
of shit.
well, I wasn't sick. I just had like a cough that I just couldn't get rid of for like a month.
Had you just
straight.
gotten back from Wuhan?
No. I
What did they say it was actually like
never.
released, or like the virus kind of like became, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It was out and about making its rounds. Some people think like January of 2020, but wasn't it like October of 2019?
Oh,
or
it was
something?
like,
It was a bit
wasn't
earlier
it? Yeah, I was going to say it was like February.
I think it was shortly,
October, or,
I think it was February
2019.
yeah, it was
2020.
early February.
Oh,
Early,
Well,
really?
it was
It
actually
was like early in the year.
It was actually.
And it wasn't a thing until about October that year.
So it went
What day
for-
is it?
it was-
What day is it today?
It is the 13th of March.
So March 13th, it was considered a pandemic. So
Yeah, but I know it came out like, okay, so if it was considered a pandemic in March, I know it was out a few months before that because people had been talking about it online. Because when this all came out, I did a little bit of, like, oh, where'd this come from and that. And it was known about like months before that, and then it became a pandemic. And like we were talking about, I've kind of always been of the mind that this has been overblown since day one. I mean, if you really look at the science, it's the influenza strain it is the flu. I mean, sure, it's a different strain. It affects you differently. Apparently, it's more respiratory than your, digestive system and stuff. You're not throwing up. It's more the head cold thing. But it's still the flu. It's still the flu strain, right? And the thing that really pissed me off was when they were talking about all these variants. The corona was the one that was supposed to be, it's your respiratory system. And then these other variants come out.
Coronaviruses, there's coronavirus 1 through 19.
Yeah.
So...
But that's what I'm saying is the corona was a specific one that was more attacks your respiratory system, whereas the flu is generally makes you sick, right? It makes you throw up, makes you feel like shit. And after that, when they were talking about all these new variants coming out, how they were trying to keep that train running, most people you talk to them like, yeah, I had that variant. It just kind of felt like the flu, and I'm like, it is the fucking flu, you idiot. That's all it is.
How does anyone know what variant they had? That was another thing that just drove me up the wall.
Oh, yeah.
I have Delta, whatever the flavor of the month was.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what you have. Like, you took a test, and those tests, and they, you know what I mean? Even the guy who created those tests or whatever, like, I'm sure you guys have probably talked about that, but you know what I mean? Like, they'll just take any small particle of virus in your nasal cavity.
Yeah, and it's there you go. You're sick.
You just get all those false negatives, but yeah, like you could literally watch that the doctor that created those like speaking about using them for like something like this and how he's like basically was like, yeah, no, you can't do that. Like it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, so it's kind of funny. Like, listen, I have Delta, I have this, I have that. So, oh my god.
In my stupid opinion, I think that the whole thing was completely blown out of the water more than it needs to be or needed to be.
Way too much.
Like it was, it would. I do believe it was a virus. I personally believe that it was manufactured, and somehow
that's a good chance.
Yeah.
That's been officially like stated.
They've said if all the studies of it say it looks like it was created in a lab. They don't have the smoking gun. But they're like 99% sure it was lab created.
What I don't like is the fact that it was pushed on people so hard and not giving you a choice. And then the people who didn't get it, basically like yourself, you basically almost become a second-class citizen.
Yeah, very much.
Because
yeah, they show your papers to get in fucking,
to Arby's.
Yeah, exactly. Like, fuck, there's shit that will make me way sicker behind the counter there.
Yeah, there's the thing that makes me think that it was scripted, or not so much scripted, but man-made, was so it comes out and then it's the worst fucking thing ever. Like there's this and it's gonna wipe out what did they say, Saskatchewan? They estimated 55,000 deaths in the first 2 weeks and all this stuff.
Yeah, how they sold it to us was massive
brand new
deaths.
Fucking
much more deadly
illness
than the
comes out, and now it's super deadly. Nobody knows anything about it. Then 2 weeks later, now there's all these professionals on it.
Mm-hmm.
So how did these people become professionals on it? They probably were handed a fucking information about
fucking honorary doctorates on this subject.
The experts.
Yeah,
that's what I love. The experts.
Yeah.
You gotta watch the
they
news.
got interviewed at the job and they said, "Will you read the scripts we give you?"
Yeah.
They said, "Yeah, all right, now you're an expert."
Can I stick my hand up your ass and work your mouth like a fucking Saigon whore?
They'll never say who the experts are and show who they are unless their credentials or whatever. It's just the experts. The experts say.
Always
the
experts.
The doctors.
All the
experts.
there's an expert on everything.
One expert says.
Well, what we were talking about, kind of what this whole podcast is going to be about, is how the media is kind of one of the biggest detriments to our mental health, because it seems to me like we've all just talked about how this corona thing, it just the further we get away from it and the more we look back on it, it looks like the media just had an agenda, like, let's pump this thing. Let's make,
that's of course,
we can make a lot of money making test kits. Like you said, the experts get to fucking run the show and control the narrative. And the media had a story that they could talk about fucking en masse, I mean, it got to the point where we were all fucking tired of hearing about it. Like, we had a rule for how many podcasts where it's like, let's just not talk about corona this time.
I find it
they
funny.
hear enough about it.
I find it funny now that everybody's dropping their mandates, and then in the news the other day I hear COVID cases in Saskatchewan have just been stagnant.
Yeah.
And
funny how that happened.
People just quit getting tested.
Before I avoid the news like with every ounce of my being. I can feel my IQ going down if I watch, like if it's even on in the background. But
especially if you're watching Fox.
But yeah, like, oh my god,
or Global.
Sorry, low hanging fruit.
It does. They're all terrible, but it was interesting. Like, one of the things I did see over here, I don't even know if it was maybe on the news or if it was something, maybe it was something like a post of Scott Moe's on Instagram or something, but that Saskatchewan was before the mandates were all dropped. So this was in January. That Saskatchewan was pre-COVID for hospital admissions and ICU and stuff. So like we have less people in the hospital being admitted to the hospital and less people being admitted to the ICU in January than we did before COVID.
Really?
So I was like, that's interesting, right? Like, because they were still trying, you'd still catch a little bit of them playing up like, oh, we're so overwhelmed or this or that. And I have like friends who are nurses at the hospitals and stuff, and they're like,
well, yeah, like I said, my fiance is a nurse.
There you go. And I was getting like Snapchats of parts of the hospital and stuff like from the beginning till now, but it was always very interesting to be like, oh, here's where I used to eat lunch. And it was like an area of like, cafeteria or whatever that they like converted over for, overflow for like potential.
Well, yeah, they had
potential COVID cases and stuff. And they'd like go in there, like, these are my friends sending this to me directly. And they'd like turn the lights on and be like, this is where we used to eat lunch. And it's just beds. And like, there's no one even working in there. It was completely empty. No one, nothing.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay.
I felt really bad for the people in the hospital because, like, my fiance, like I said, all the time she was telling me about just how many people, how they were overworked. They never got breaks and shit like that. It was almost to the point where it was like, Jesus Christ, like this is like they're a unionized group, nurses, and they were getting such, they were getting so overworked and so mistreated, and it was all under the guise of, oh well, your heroes saving the world, which I'm not denying that they do good work and this kind of stuff, but it just seemed like kind of like they were pumping up their tires just to say, well, take it, we really need your help here. There was no like extra money or no extra bonuses or anything like that, and they were just worked to the bone. I mean, she could have stayed at work the entire time through these last 2 years because they were always calling her every time she had off. And like I said, it just kind of comes back to the whole mental health issue. You've got all these people overworked. You've got the masses, afraid of getting this thing and spending time and money testing and, worrying about whether their kids are going to get it. We were sold on it's going to kill everybody in the province. We're going to be living in a ghost town. And I think at the last report I heard in Saskatchewan anyway was around 1,200 deaths, which, that's terrible. 1,200 people died from this, but in a province of 1 million people, that's not even 1%.
Is that since the beginning then? Like now?
That's what I heard. Like I said, I don't know 100% if those numbers are, but it was around something like 1,000 to 1,200 deaths.
There was one
in 2 years, which doesn't seem all that high to me.
No, and then I mean you're just going off a figure, but then I remember seeing like someone put this together, and it was all directly off the provincial government's websites. I mean, BC, Alberta, for us, for Manitoba and stuff, and they took like pre-COVID, like there was hospital it was ICU admissions, and it was deaths, and annually, and it was like from 2015. Did any of you guys see this? Did you see that, Josh? And it was it was year over year, so 2015 up to 2019 or 2020, up to 2020, sorry, up and including 2020. And like the ICU admissions and the deaths in the hospitals in each province, and these are the person like referenced all this, and they put it all together. You could go check and see directly, from the actual websites. It wasn't just random numbers and whatever. But basically, 2015, Alberta had a really bad year. It was a really bad year with influenza, and the numbers were essentially like almost the exact same. They actually like tapered down, like it's very minimal, but they go down from 2015 all the way to 2020. 2020 had less deaths each province and less ICU admissions. So like that's super interesting.
Oh, it is. Well, one of the things I remember when this all kind of, you guys know who Tony Robbins is?
Yeah.
That big gorilla looking dude.
Motivational
speaker. I remember he put a little thing out saying, like right at the start of this, going like, it's kind of ridiculous how much they're pumping this. And he made a statement of, have you noticed there are 0 reports of the flu now? The flu has literally gone the way of the dodo. It doesn't exist anymore. It's always COVID. Yeah. And I remember that got taken down because I had posted it on my page and it got flagged as false information, right? Or whatever, which, okay, fine. But like you said, like if you look at it, and like you said, this graph kind of shows that, with all this hype and all this shit that they were saying, it's this big pandemic.
You're tying it together. That's kind of why I said that.
There should have been a spike, right?
Yeah, that's-
I mean, or at least a fucking uptick.
Yeah. That's
You
kind
know?
of why I was mentioning that. You said like, oh,
Yeah.
there's 1,200 deaths or whatever in Saskatchewan. I'm like, well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're looking year after year, like, I don't know how many people typically die, you know, annually from province to province or in Canada as a
Yeah.
whole or anything. But when you're just like 1,200 people in Saskatchewan, you're like, well, how many people normally die
Well, I did look at
in Saskatchewan every year?
Yeah.
And when you start looking, it's like,
It's around that.
There's no more deaths. Like the death rate hasn't increased.
That's what I mean. And they were selling this thing from day one.
What,
Like it was the
like
fucking
everyone was
bubonic
gonna
plague.
die.
Like, you know, everybody who has any kind of, you know, slightly compromised immune system. That was another thing they really sold, you know. So if you have diabetes or whatever, you know, just something that you're living with, but it makes you a little more susceptible. And they were like, oh, those people are definitely going to die if they get it, you know. And you're like, and you see cases of, you know, some 75-year-old with arthritis. She's like, yeah, I got it, I'm fine now. And then but you know, those rare cases, because I actually did know a guy, I think he was 35, and he died. And they say it was from COVID. Of course, I'm not the doctor. I don't know what he died from, but that's what I heard. And you thought, wow, that is shocking.
Now, I've heard different things about COVID-related deaths. Now, I know
Well,
that
if you
if somebody
died in a car accident and you had COVID, they wrote it down as COVID.
yeah, that and
They really did. They pumped those numbers up as hard as they could.
apparently, if somebody, I was told this by somebody who works in the hospital. I'm not going to say names because for their sake.
Oh, come on, drop it.
Yeah.
Burn that
And
bridge.
they were saying that if somebody passes away and they still haven't had a COVID test in the hospital, they'll do the test on the dead body.
And then if it comes back positive,
they mark it as a,
really,
that's
COVID related.
that's
COVID
fucked
related.
up.
They had to do something to pad the numbers.
Well,
right? When,
they-
when last year there was 17 flu cases in all of Canada.
That's what I mean, man. Where'd the fucking flu go?
17 cases.
See, now that
in
part- that
34 million people. Only 17 people.
Is that
got
what
the
it
flu.
was?
That's what I mean. It literally dropped off the map.
I think we're like 38 something
Yeah.
Canada now.
Yeah.
Million. So
It's fucking ridiculous. Like,
regardless, that's ridiculous.
They're just hammering the fear, and that was the intent the whole time. And
I don't know how Canada works, but like watching, I don't know if did you watch any of Dr. Robert Malone, like speaking about the hospitals and like how they get dealing with this is obviously in the US, but like every patient they deal with, they get paid an X amount of money. And then every COVID related death, they get paid X amount of money. So I don't know how it works in Canada. And I forget the exact figure.
I would
so I'm not
imagine
even
be
gonna say.
similar.
But like people going into the hospital and dying of COVID in the hospital is like pharmaceutical level money making for those hospitals. It's
in the States,
it's
no.
astronomical. They
So
get
it
paid
wa-
like 20,000 US or something
It
per
wasn't
COVID
like
death.
that in Canada, but in the U.S., yes. If somebody
yeah.
had,
It's gonna
it
be
was like a
different,
grant
right?
from the government for the hospital that they would get paid a ton more money if somebody
Yeah.
died of a COVID.
It's
death. And
insane.
I think that's what made the numbers spike.
They were finding
around
like
Canada and U.S. with the whole testing.
Absolutely.
If you died of something.
Well, this sounds like a real rich vein of conversation we're about to get into. So let's take a quick break. And after a word from our sponsors, we'll be right back. Our sponsors this week, Free Time.
We don't have sponsors. And that was a word from our sponsors.
There you go.
We have no
Like I said,
sponsors
brought to
still.
you by Free Time. Our next sponsor is probably going to be Opinions. But we're still working on that. All right. Well, we're back at it here. And we were kind of talking about how they were overhyping this stuff and all this other things. Now, one of the things we were talking about before we started the podcast was, do we feel like with this kind of how we're all kind of agreed that this was overhyped and kind of really made to kind of create panic, are we seeing the mandates drop because now we have a new thing to focus, a new terror in the world? The fucking World War III is, 2 seconds away from starting. So is it because that's come along and it's, when you get a war, it's also a reason to hike gas prices, as we've all noticed, and fucking food and all these other things. I noticed I went shopping the other day, couldn't find chicken anywhere. Things like this are disappearing off the shelves. Do you feel that that's the reason why COVID's kind of, they're like, all right, we beat this horse, way past the point of it being dead. Now we got a fresh one to start whooping on? Or do you think it's just coincidence?
I'm going to go full blown. I'm with you. I think I'm with you. And that's just a full blown narrative change. And
Yeah.
I think they beat everything to do with COVID, like every excuse to death. You know what I mean? Like even people that were buying into it and kind of even if it was just like going along to get along, there you could just tell everyone's just so sick of everything. Hey, like not following anything. Like no one, don't have your own family over at your house and stuff. Like no one's fucking listening to any of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I felt like it was pretty beat to death and like
What I
enough
was,
information coming out, kind of like making it look pretty stupid to continue doing it, right? So it was like Q World War III.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Putin, your turn.
So before, or we ran out of time on the last one, but I wanted to ask, as a person who hasn't not got the COVID shot, on the mental health aspects of the whole thing, when things kept on getting locked down and you weren't allowed to do anything, like on the mental health side of things, what was the effects on that? Was it pretty bad, or was it? You've always been, as long as I've known you, always been a pretty positive person, but
You don't know me that way. No. I was lucky again. Like the fact that I wasn't working, the fact like I left the job I was at before that. Like I was in the oil and gas industry for like 15 years, and I was lucky that I didn't have to like worry too much. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't like, you know, struggling like what I'm gonna die. I don't have any money or anything. So I was lucky that I could kind of just take my time and try and find, you know, something that I wanted to do and that, you know, pays okay and stuff like that. So I didn't have to deal with that, which I mean a lot of people did, and I could have seen, like, you know what I mean, like people lost their jobs, like careers, people like things they went to school for and like, you know, invested their whole lives into, and they had to like walk away. And I can't imagine like what that would have done to your, you know, psychologically to people. Like I know people like couples like paramedic and registered nurse and stuff, and they're like left the country with their family and stuff, and you know, other people too, like friends out in Pilot Butte, some went to, you know, Arizona, you know, people kind of just dispersed and fucked off essentially and just took everything, dropped everything and left because like they had, you know what I mean, they lost kind of their ability to
provide for themselves. And their
yeah.
families.
So, I mean, for me, I was lucky that was one thing I didn't have to deal with. And then I'm not like a big social butterfly out, like, you know, a ton anyway. So, I mean, I could see how that also would have like really affected some people who are used to like just, they can't, you know what I mean? They're almost uncomfortable hanging out by themselves, right? Some people are just always out, always doing stuff. Like I have friends like that. Like they're just nearly every night, like they're out doing shit. Like I'm just like, I'm at home, like relaxing with my dog. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like a lot of stuff didn't change for me, I guess is kind of what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I had to overhear it and it drove me nuts because it didn't make sense to me. And like, it did try me mentally, like for sure, like off and on the entire time. But I think a lot of other people, you know, especially with like kids and raising families and stuff that like lost their careers and like, I can't imagine like
the biggest one too, I think, was a person that we knew that he was a nurse and he ended up taking his own life over. And it wasn't strictly over the whole pandemic, but
I'm sure it didn't help.
It didn't help,
You know,
the situation.
well, like I said,
whatsoever.
just being a nurse and just that the work ramping up, all the panic, you know, having to be in that scenario all the time, I can understand. Like I've seen firsthand how much stress it causes. So, like you said, probably wasn't the only reason, but certainly didn't help. And that was kind of something, like you said, we were talking about the mental health thing with the whole situation. It just, the thing I've been looking at is it kind of reminds me of several things that have happened before. Like I remember when 9/11 came along. Obviously a massive tragedy, horrible loss of life. It was a terrible thing and a worldwide story. Everybody knew about it. But then once that was, you know, once it was gone and they were dealing with the aftermath, do you guys remember the terror wheel?
No.
Okay, no. They had a fucking, the president of the United States had a fucking terror wheel, and what it was a color-coded wheel, and it was the likelihood of another terrorist attack. And so it was, okay, today we're in orange. All right, orange. That's likely or high probability, you know, and it would go to yellow, which was slightly less. We're okay, but you know, but then it would go back to, or it never went to fucking green, where they're like, we're safe, everybody's cool, and it was, and they've looked back on this many times, and they're like, that was kind of similar to this scenario where it was just a way to keep that tenseness, you know, present. You know, okay, you're safe, but you're not 100% safe. Like, you got to be careful, you got to be worried, you got to be thinking about this all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel that, or even, do you guys remember the AIDS epidemic? When I was a kid, I remember like AIDS was everywhere. If you got it, you were dead. You had to have safe. If you didn't have safe sex, you were definitely going to get it.
Yeah.
And I watched a documentary about that. Maybe about a year ago, a guy went in and he just showed how much over-reporting of the numbers there were. And as time went on and the medicine kind of caught up with the disease, now it's not necessarily a death sentence. You can live with that. I mean, look at Magic Johnson, guy's still fucking doing all right. But, I just felt that this is a similar kind of thing where, it was a much less, I mean, obviously AIDS is a fucking big deal. You get it. It's not something you want, but this is COVID, something that will eventually go away for most people. And yet they still just were pumping it out like, it wasn't just about you. It was about worry of who you're going to spread it to, the immunocompromised people that you might kill and this and that and the other thing. So it wasn't, oh my God, you might get this disease that'll never go away. It's, you might be responsible for somebody losing their life. And it kind of ties into that thing you were talking about with the pharmaceutical companies and how they're on the back end making these tests, making the fucking vaccines. And I guarantee they didn't do all this shit for free. So I bet you if you looked at the three major pharmaceutical companies in the world, I guarantee you during these last 2 years, their stock has fucking skyrocketed over
It's
this.
tanking now.
Well,
It is
but
tanking
that's what
now.
I mean. But that's why now we're talking about the war, and they're going to be
Because-
shifting their funds over to the fucking war effort somehow. I'm
Well,
sure.
it's also, I think it's money, power, greed,
Influence.
You look at the countries that don't have to do with the Rothschild banks. Like, Russia is the biggest one that doesn't have anything to do with the Rothschild banks. And then, obviously, things have spiked from that. And now it's following, like, the narrative of, okay, now it's wartime.
Yeah.
And now, like, Putin is invading Ukraine and blowing it all down to nothing. And then it's like, well, China's like, hey, well, we're going to take Taiwan and make it ours because it was never officially theirs, even though it was not theirs and
Wow.
it's not China's.
Yeah.
Is that
What's
a thing
that?
right now? Taiwan too.
China apparently is going to take over Taiwan now.
Yeah. Well,
And,
did you hear? There was a little thing about that. Kind of was the first thing I heard about that was John Cena got in trouble for calling Taiwan a country
What?
because he
I heard
offended
that, yeah.
China.
Yeah.
He was on. He's a wrestler. He was on TV and he said, I don't know what he said. He just said something about the country of Taiwan, and he actually had to make a public
I seen him
apology
apologize.
to
What?
China because China does not recognize Taiwan as a country. They
Why
think,
is-
like you said, they think it's theirs. So he had to go out because China is such a big audience and Taiwan obviously much, much smaller. And he had to go apologize to China for saying this offensive thing that Taiwan's
Apologizing
their
to the
own country.
communists.
Right?
Like, what's wrong with that
Like,
guy?
that's so fucked up.
I think we can all just sit here and agree when I say fuck China.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's always been
100%.
a dictatorship
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah, that place is.
Like
It's-
they're-
Well, it's funny when China and Russia have a coup to disrupt the West, and that's what this is all about. This
Oh,
isn't-
absolutely.
This has nothing to do with the denazification of Ukraine, which is what Putin's
What he's hiding
agenda
behind, the
is-
shield he's carrying in front of him.
It's world control, right?
Absolutely,
Like,
man.
fuck.
Well, Russia has always been like they've never hidden the fact that they want it. Like here, if the government wants to do something in order to do like subterfuge to Russia or something like that, they have to. Oh, we're starting this new task force, and they'll keep it very. Like they'll tell you, the title of it, and that's it. They won't explain what they do. Russia, they're like, yeah, we're gonna pull $30 million out of the bank because we want to go fuck with the states. We're gonna send fucking people over there to mess it up. Like the Antifa
Well, look at
protests
what
and shit.
Russia's
A lot
doing.
of them were
Russia's-
funded by Russians.
$200 or $300 a day for Iranian and Syrian fighters to come and fight for Russia. Mm-hmm. Like, fuck me, really? Come on.
What's the biggest thing that makes me a little upset about it is everything. This is all mainstream, and that's all they focus on. The mainstream guys always focus on what they're paid to focus on.
Yes.
And
Well, what gets the most traction, right?
well, the biggest thing that worries me right
a
now
problem.
is it's like COVID-19 was all over the news for 2 years. And it basically made us think that normalizing wearing masks and everything like that
Yep.
was normal. My big worry is that the mainstream following a lot of this is going to normalize war and normalize death and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And
Well, they got to get the death numbers up to what they thought they were going to
Yeah.
from COVID. So.
When the war officially starts, you'll start to see the COVID deaths rise a bunch. They're like, well, the guy got shot in the head, but he had COVID.
Yeah, he had a COVID bullet.
Ukraine's going to have like this crazy rise in cases of COVID deaths now.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
man.
exactly.
They're going to find all these COVID deaths that are like have gunshot wounds to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have
Blown
to
apart
clamp
by
back
a
down
bomb.
on the masks.
Like I honestly just like stay out of that kind of the whole thing. Like I'm pretty neutral. But I did hear one thing that was interesting. That's why I'm going to ask. But I heard that part of Ukraine that like Russia was going after initially or whatever, that's been like ongoing since like the early 90s or something. Is that
Oh,
true?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like this is like something that's like this
There's
what's happening
been
right
tension
now.
between the two for a
this
long
is,
time.
This is kind of like over 30 years of like what's been going on, like coming to like fruition, whatever. Like it's kind of like going, boiling over now, and now we're like hearing about it, and media is just like blowing everything up and
Yeah. Well,
selling
Well,
the
that's it.
fear and
When they
whatever.
started their invasion is we're going into this certain part of Ukraine, and this is why. And now they're just bombing the fuck out of the whole country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no, they're just like, well, we're here. We might
So
as
how,
well.
because there's laws of war, there's rules of war.
Yeah.
So at this
Geneva
point,
Convention.
can't Putin be charged with wars against or crimes against humanity or whatever they're called, or war crimes? Or
The ones that are crimes against humanity, I'm pretty sure it's the Geneva Conventions that were put, and that's like you can't use chemical weapons and things like that. Certain age for soldiers, unless he's crossing those lines, I don't think he can be charged with that. Now, again, I'm not an expert on this. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure like it has to be cruel and unusual methods. Like I said, like mustard gas and stuff
bombing a
like that.
fucking kids hospital in Ukraine.
As long as the bomb is just a bomb and not a chemical bomb, technically you're fine.
Oh, cool.
I'm not saying it's a messed up scenario,
I
but
think
yeah.
that was pretty disgusting myself when I heard that one.
Yeah, well, I think war in itself is disgusting, but yes, kids dying.
I think the whole thing is.
You know, I know this is a little thing, just my own little side note. You kind of you hear this story all the time, and these people that are in the media and they're news givers, it's Kiev, not Kyiv. Or Kyiv or whatever. It's Kiev.
Do you feel better now?
I do. I'm sorry. I know I'm being pedantic, but I'm just. It's fucking Kiev.
If even
It's
one
not
person,
Kyiv.
if even one person gets it right now,
Just saying, man. You're on a fucking national news program and you don't know the name of the fucking city. Come on.
That's pretty sweet. Now that I'm glad one of our 3 listeners might fucking change their.
It's not.
Come
all
on,
fucking
Robert
opinion.
Gatesman, figure it out.
It's not all entertainment. Some of it's information. Okay. But yeah, no, I feel that this is the new thing to focus on, and it's like we were talking about the media. They always just want to fucking keep you terrified, keep
Well,
you
that's-
worried, because people who are worried and anxious are easiest to control, and what they're doing is they're making you worried about something, and then all the Facebook bots listening to your microphone are selling you shit that, hey, this will make you feel better buying this thing. Or, your doctor says, oh, you're stressed out because of COVID. Well, there's these pills you can start taking to help you
Pretty
out.
sure that,
And it just keeps the whole fucking thing churning.
got mind reading technology because like now when I think of something and it's like, oh, look at this.
They do, man. Like I said, the one that really always freaked me out was a while ago, but I was watching Logan, which is the Wolverine movie, on TV, and I was about 15 minutes in, and I just pulled up my phone. First thing on Facebook, 15 things you didn't know about Wolverine. I hadn't said the word, I hadn't done it, but it knew I was watching a movie, and it's like, well, here, you might want to know some more shit. And I'm like, okay, you can't just say that's a coincidence.
Have you ever searched, tried Google searching what your phone and the apps actually do? Every time I try and like Google and something like that, I've never found anything where they say like it actually uses your microphone and stuff like that.
Well, they say it doesn't, but
well, what's that
100% bullshit.
documentary? Have you watched that on Netflix?
The Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like so, and those guys are like
Fucking crazy. what they
in the
do.
know, direct, like firsthand, like
They're literally about mind reading. That's what it's about.
And like some of the dudes in there, like that work for these companies, like they're not like it's not a game of telephone. Like those are the guys like that. Like they walked away from some of that stuff because it was
What's
like
it called?
how fucked up it is. You haven't
Social
seen that?
dilemma.
Oh, you should watch it. It's a great
You'll
documentary.
literally delete all social media and just flush your toilet down
Yeah.
the phone after. You're like, what the fuck?
He's not wrong, man.
And this is old. Like this is years
Yeah,
old
a couple
now.
years ago.
Like, but
really?
they even say like they're using your camera and everything on your your camera, your microphone and stuff. But like they like watch where your eyes go on the screen.
Yeah, well,
like
do you
they know
know
what you're looking at,
your
how long you're
camera-
looking at it and stuff.
Your camera takes infrared pictures of you. I think it's every 5 seconds while you're looking at your phone. And if you're scrolling through Facebook and you stop for a half second on, say a girl got a booty pic or there's a real cool truck or a game you like, they will clock that. Okay, he stopped and looked at this for 5 seconds. You might have scrolled past, you might have not clicked on the damn thing, but they're like, okay, how can we get a different ad that's similar to that'll make him click on it? And they will tailor, and the whole algorithm goes and says, all right, he stopped for 5 seconds. How can we make him stop for 10 seconds the next time?
I
How
really
can we
hope
make
you
him
guys don't ever see my algorithm.
It's fuck.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm sure everybody's got some.
I'm surprised you haven't seen that yet. You should really watch
I
that.
gotta
It's
watch
like,
that.
It's pretty interesting.
It is,
It's
man.
like jaw dropping. Actually,
I never realized my liking of big bootied hoes would become a
Well,
public knowledge.
that and like
every single click, where
Everything.
where your mouse cursor goes and stuff. Like
the internet
every
makes,
little thing.
The internet makes you out to be a worse person than you are too, because it's like, well, if you like this, well, check out this more extreme
Yeah.
thing, and it's like, well, okay.
I'm a horrible person.
Do you guys ever get those? Do you guys ever get those wish lists from Wish when you're scrolling through and you're like, what the fuck do they like? There's gimp masks and fucking pegging equipment on there, and I'm like, whoa! What fucking thing was I on that they thought this would be something they could sell me?
I had to turn those notifications
Oh,
off immediately.
I think they're kind of funny because it's always like straight to the extreme. Like,
Do you
what
need
the
this-
fuck is
do you
Wish
need
into?
this life-size Shaquille O'Neal rubber fist?
Well, I've always wanted to play basketball better. Can it palm the ball?
Well, you can palm something.
But that's what I mean. It's ridiculous how much it's in your head. And then I always kind of find it disingenuous when social media platforms are talking about mental health, when they're literally the people mining your mentality and your thoughts in order to take advantage of every extreme, high or low, doesn't matter. As long as they can capitalize on it and make a profit, they don't give a shit.
It's wild how much technology actually goes into that.
Oh, it's well, they said the data, like you want to talk about gas prices going up. Data is the most valuable commodity in the world, period.
It's data.
Whatever you want to call it. You
just
say
wanted to
you
start
say
arguing
data, I
about
say
that.
data. Well, I went off on Kiev, so you're allowed to say.
So I believe it. I believe it's pronounced. That's how.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's pronounced.
But that is
Data.
that is literally the most valuable commodity now, which is kind of why, like, how cryptocurrencies and things have become massive, and now there's these NFTs. One of the big things, I think, the reason they did pump this whole COVID thing was because everybody had to stay in. And if you look at Amazon stock prices and fucking Skip the Dishes and all these things that benefited on people not leaving their house, shopping online, all their stock went up. Like, I mean, Jeff Bezos went from being like the 10th
I don't
richest
know,
guy in the world to the richest.
My Amazon stock has been like pretty even
Oh.
through like the past year.
That was them testing.
No, I know, but I'm just saying worldwide. Like all the top 5 billionaires in the world went from being, I have 35 billion in the bank to being I have 90 billion in the same span of COVID.
What's like
you can't tell
Bill
me
Gates
that.
is at like 160 billion or
Well, that's-
120 billion.
That's
now?
what I mean. And before COVID, it's not like he was doing badly. He was maybe 80
what's your-
billion.
what's
but
How old is he going to live to be?
well, with
what I
that
wanna
kind of
know.
money, probably immortal.
He probably won't die.
He's probably gonna fucking
Like, there's all these-
got a cybernetic body. He's
He'll
gonna
be like
plug his.
Krang.
All these politicians and all these people like that you like look at, like I'll say Bill Gates, yeah, and like Soros and just like all of them, and they're just like so fucking old, and they look like they're like just clinging to life, like they have for like decades. Like, I'm like, when are you gonna just pass away?
Do you guys wanna
Just
s-
one of them. Give me one.
guys
Give me
wanna
Bill.
see,
Like, I don't
uh,
care, or like one of them, someone.
Somebody
I think
just,
the world.
Biden, like
I think the world
come
would be a
on.
better place if Bill Gates.
Do you guys want to see something really fucked
took
up?
his own life tonight.
Oh, it'd be a much, but it literally would be like
One-
a significant
Do you guys
difference.
want to see something really
Sure.
fucked up? So
Did you Google?
no, you Google America's top doctor.
It's Fauci, is it?
top doctor isn't highest paid or most renowned.
A lot of them.
You can't use Google for anything. Firstly,
I I can't remember which one it was. America's Best Doctor, America's Top Doctor, and they used to
Doogie
always come
Howser.
up as Bill Gates.
Really?
He was the first ones that show up.
In when we were talking about that social dilemma thing, you mentioned you can't use Google. It technically is, as great as Google is and as much as it knows, it gives you different search results even if you search the same thing depending on where you are in the world.
100%. Yeah,
know?
and it's like
Yeah.
it's all
So
it's
not
So
the
it's
same
literally
anymore, but-
tailor making the information they want to give you.
yeah, you have to use like a different like I use like a Brave VPN but yeah, it's all censored. Like it's the
It
same as it's all controlled. Like we in Canada like Googling shit, like we're gonna get the exact results that they want us to get. That's it. We're not
Well-
gonna get the real results.
And people don't really think about how crazy
I'll just Google
scary that is. Because if I search, best car, because I'm in Canada, they're going to give me one, whereas if I was in Australia, they're going to give me something. And you think, okay, well, that's not a big deal. But if you start Googling things about information, about the government or things like that, again, they can just kind of handpick what they're going to feed you. And Google's become so ingrained in our society. It's like literally when you have an argument and we're all, oh no, this is the answer. No, that is. Well, you go, let's ask Google.
All these
it's literally become that God that you just go to say like, hey, what's the right answer? And they've literally admitted that they give people different answers on the same question. And that's kind of fucked up. That kind of scares me as a person.
You're only allowed to see like far left stuff. That's what they'll give you.
Well, they definitely pump a lot of that on the
you're
internet.
not
The
gonna
internet
get-
has a very left leaning.
Any platform, everything is, right?
It's mind-boggling. It makes me worried for the next generation.
I've done that a couple times where I'll Google whatever I'm looking for, and then I'll go on like my Brave browser and Google the same thing and see, or not Google.
Well, yeah.
I'll go on
That's
Brave.
what I mean.
and-
That's how ingrained it is.
exactly.
It's literally become the word for fucking searching.
I'll look up the same thing on both and just kind of see like what the difference is. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Google
It
is
is.
definitely like it's not. I mean, if you're just looking up
I just think
basic things, that's reliable. But other than that, like,
well, I
the
think
thing-
if you're an information company, your information should be the same across the board.
100%.
If I search something and you search something, no matter where we are in the world, we should get the same fucking answer. 2 + 2 is 4, no matter where you are. It shouldn't be and I don't care about the algorithm or who you're tailoring this information to. It shouldn't be tailored. It should just be pure and simple information.
They
And if
have-
you're going to become left or right leaning or whatever, you should have to fucking advertise that. You should have to say, okay, look, we're this kind of platform. We're going to focus on this kind of
They
information.
pretty much are now, like most of these different platforms or whatever. Like, we won't
generally,
even
yeah.
say the one that probably this is going to be going on, but like,
What, Spotify?
like
YouTube?
yeah, like well, Spotify actually is. I would say I haven't heard anything too bad about them, honestly.
Well, didn't you hear that whole Joe Rogan nonsense?
Yeah, but they didn't like turf them off the platform.
No, they
right?
didn't, which
or like
respect to them.
They didn't turf anyone. And you know what's funny about that? Just because you brought it up, like, did you actually hear? Like, so
He's back on?
He never was off.
I know.
And there was another platform. What was it? Like someone else offered him. They're like, yeah, if Spotify wants to kick you off, we'll give you $100 million.
A right wing platform.
It was,
I remember that.
but it was another like streaming.
Yeah, and they offered him
$100 million. They're like,
over 4 years. Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, that's an interesting fact as well. But then also Neil Young, like that's who initially like went after him and was crying about everything, saying that he was going to get them to remove his music or whatever. But did you actually hear like he doesn't even own the rights to his music anymore?
Nope.
You didn't hear that? Yeah. So he basically was like, I need you to pull all my music here if you're going to have Jerry on your platform or whatever. And they were like, they basically like looked into it or whatever. And they're like, you don't own the rights to your music
Yeah,
anymore.
you don't have the right
You
to do
crazy
that.
old bastard. So like he basically like canceled himself firstly, and then second, like his whole fucking trying to leverage his own music. They're like, he didn't even own the rights, so like it's still on there too. So
Oh, of course.
he basically just made himself look like a complete idiot.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, like a
Typical
guy
Canadian, eh?
who one of his biggest fucking songs is "Rocking in the Free World," and then you're the guy going, "This guy's not allowed to share his
Yeah,
opinions."
no freedom here.
I liked
Yeah.
him before. I can't now. I hear his music. I'm like, turn
I
that-
mean, I
turn
still
that
like some of his
off,
shit,
turn
but
that
like
shit off.
like that whole stance, like if you want to object to it, say that he's spreading misinformation. All that, I got no problem with you expressing your opinion, but once you give that ultimatum, it's either you do what I want or I'm taking my ball and going home. You've now crossed the line. And
I found-
you know,
I found-
I can't respect your opinion.
I found Spotify then. Basically, what I was saying is that they haven't like really chosen like pick sides or anything, right? They're kind of like,
No.
if you want to take your music. Like they're not kicking anyone out here or there, right? But
Mm-hmm.
some of these other platforms, I guess, are like pretty much advertising. Like you said, you should have to advertise. Like if you're going to pick away, like they're basically
Mm-hmm.
advertising by removing any sort of like anything that even leans slightly right, or you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, like you
So
said,
it's-
YouTube is really
Oh
bad
my,
for that.
anything
Like
they're
we're
just,
probably never going to get, what is it called, verified because we swear, right? Which is like
no, it's a rule where it's like within like the first 5 minutes
no, but
of the.
there's level. I've been looking into it. There's levels of like how much you can make off of YouTube, and you have to follow a very strict doctrine. And swearing is one of those things where like you
they
can still make
swear
money. You
on
can
the-
still get.
you just Logan Paul. Or
No,
the
I know. You
Impulsive
if you have a big
podcast
enough
all the time.
thing, you can. But there's certain like he's kind of a rare exception because he became famous and did the whole verification process before he,
And
you
they'll
know,
still-
he made the split videos and funny joke shit before he started getting into his podcast. Now it's he's kind of almost too big of a star to flag. But you guys remember Vitaly?
No.
Well, anyway, he was kind of like a Jake Paul or Logan Paul kind of guy, but he was a little more edgy. You know, he made prank videos and stuff. And he apparently got arrested for beating some jogger up. But anyway, he was trying to launch a platform that was kind of like YouTube for adults. It was okay with nudity and swearing and this and that. And they started taking down videos that he had on there for years that had massive number of views and things like that. And they started taking them down and removing like links to them and stuff like that and putting them in the suggested because he wasn't following how they wanted it. And so they literally started making his channel less and less profitable. And that's just kind of, and like you said, it was because he wasn't aligning with what they wanted to be or what their viewpoints were. And they just said, okay, well, we're going to start fucking knocking down your palace here. And, you know, like, I don't really like the guy. He's kind of a sleaze, but it goes to that thing where, you know, YouTube used to just be, I've got a video, here you go. And it used to be people got to decide, I either like this and I'm going to watch it, or I don't and I'm not.
like they even took away the thumbs down. You can't even see how many people like they don't want like hurt feelings and stuff.
Exactly.
Like they're super woke.
Bubble
far-
wrap.
I honestly-
Everybody's fucking offended these
The
days.
old
I f-
wokeness.
I feel like it's one of the worst platforms. It's something I actually watch on a daily basis, but but,
Oh, yeah.
but for how it's censored, and you know what I mean. Like I guess in the sense of how it's censored and stuff, it's one of the worst. Like people
Oh.
can't like you need to have like absolute like the most idiot like
Yeah.
full liberal views of everything. But
All right, we'll hold that thought and we'll come back after this word from our sponsor,
Oh,
YouTube.
man. I wish. All right.
All right, we're back for the
Still-
final stretch
and
here.
Still no sponsors.
And still no sponsors, but we're hoping one day.
We were hoping Justin would sponsor us, but he said he's broke. So
Well, you know, we can just roll them after the show. That's why we invited him here. It's all that's in your pockets.
oh, I forgot to tell you about that part too.
Yeah. We usually leave that to the end.
with mugging,
Yeah, well, you know, we try and like to get those off camera.
then I don't have to have a black eye for the whole podcast.
No, of course not. But okay, so we've been focusing on the whole Russia thing, the whole social media aspect, and how they're always stressing us out. And we always tend to know that whenever there's some shady shit going down, usually 99 times out of 100, it's for money.
And the price of everything goes way up.
Well, and that's kind of one thing I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about is obviously inflation's going up like a son of a bitch. Whenever there's a war on, that's a perfect excuse to hike things like gas and food and all these other things. One of the things that I heard while COVID was going on, and I mean, I'm not super educated in this, but a lot of the things this guy was talking about did happen. Like I said, when people were home shopping off their, off the computers and things like that, and with the cryptocurrencies, with these NFTs, these financial things that nobody really, like, even the people in them, you ask, what is this? They can never really fucking explain it to you. It's kind of one of those things where I did hear a guy say that with COVID, one of the big pushes they were trying to do was get all these cryptocurrencies and NFTs kind of going, because it allows people to kind of get their money as like cash is kind of almost a relic now. It's better if you get it digital, because much like the stock market, when you invest in the stock market and say you fucking hit big, you manage to get into Microsoft before they became Microsoft, nobody ever just cashes out. Says, I'm going to take my fucking stock. I made $3 million. I'm cashing out. I'm done. Your broker or whoever you go through always says, okay, well, you've done really good in this. We've got another opportunity to reinvest. So you never actually see the concrete, success of your fucking venture. You never just put it in the bank and now it's done. You're always, okay, well, what can I go to next? So it never really becomes real. And with cryptocurrencies and NFTs, these are exactly the fucking same thing. You never actually have any real money. It's all numbers in your bank account on a spreadsheet in the fucking cloud somewhere. And and it's one of those things that kind of, it makes me wonder if that is true, because it kind of, then they have that invisible, that invisible bucket of money that is bottomless. That's why they're printing money off like crazy, because
Well, that's why our inflation is going up.
Well, that's what I mean.
Fiat's the invisible bottomless bucket of money. I
Exactly.
think, right? So they just keep printing and
because
printing.
they never have to actually pay anybody out. If you went to your local bank, every single customer from your local bank went and said, I want to take all my money out. They don't have it all.
No.
For all the people they service, all the people that could go, they do not have the actual physical cash to just pay everybody out.
No.
But they have all the numbers on the spreadsheet, and most people are fine with that.
They were having issues, like even when they froze all those accounts from some of those people who donated to that Freedom Convoy or whatever, and obviously people like rushing to the bank and pulling their money out right after, and they were like experiencing liquidity issues there because people were like, fucking, I'm getting my money out of the bank. Like the federal government's freezing people's
Yeah, they just
assets
said, fuck you.
for donating to the Freedom Convoy. Like, that's fucked up. But
Well, and with this whole Russia thing, how they froze a lot of the accounts and people in Russia, they couldn't go to the bank and get their money out. They froze like fucking Netflix and Disney and fucking Xbox Live doesn't let them fucking. They took
Visa,
like
everything there is all
everything, and like, okay, you can kind of sell that because Russia's obviously doing shit that people aren't happy with. But think about if, like you said, like with the Freedom Convoy, think about if the bank just said, you know what, we don't like your, even just your fucking opinion on some shit. Like you're on a, if this podcast fucking rubs somebody the wrong way and they said, we don't like this, and they just felt like, we're going to freeze your bank account.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
think
just-
of how much
it's-
power they hold over you in that aspect.
It's all
that's
about
like
the
China
control.
does that now.
That's what I'm saying,
Like,
man.
I've
Like,
seen-
we are steps away from being that exact
I've
same
seen
thing.
people-
Look at,
like,
look at this
interviewed.
fresh headline.
Biden takes big step forward. Government backed. See, that's what I'm saying, man.
So Biden's pushing
a government
full
digital currency.
currency right now.
Well, and that's what I mean. It's that
That's-
invisible bucket of money that they can just. It's endless. Then
Of
they
all
can just
things,
keep
like,
putting
to me,
numbers on a
that's-
spreadsheet.
That's scarier than the wars that are going on.
It
in the world
really
right now.
is, man. And it's like we were talking about with the whole mental health thing. Like, we all know there's been a big push for check your mental health wellness and stuff, especially on social media. And yet they're the same guys pushing all this stressful shit on you and kind of telling you to be afraid all the time. So it's kind of one hand washes the other. Here we've got the market on, oh, we're so woke and generous and care about people, but we're also a big part of the reason they're stressed out. So they're playing both sides and they're winning at the end by fucking raking in all the money off of the people who are supporting this side and the people supporting this side. And it's funneling to the same fucking place. So, you're not really part of the solution if you're fucking trying to cause the problem too.
It's a scary thing, man.
That should be a wake up call for anybody, though. If you're gonna go, if you look at that, like just that convoy and that GoFundMe was over $13 million.
Yeah. And they just said no.
They just said
no.
So people want to go to a digital currency and whatever, and then you like that should be an alarm in your head, being like, fuck. Well, now they can just cancel you at any time.
That's what I mean,
And
man.
it's like,
That's
fuck.
terrifying.
Why would you want to do that? Like.
Well, and the Freedom Convoy especially, because I get that, the government wasn't happy about that.
Well, they think they were all terrorists, right? They said that I read an article the other day that said that whoever I think it was the defense minister of Canada, he's like they were convinced that those truckers were going to Ottawa to overthrow the government.
Yeah.
That was their big.
They were all white
So-
supremacists and this
Yeah.
and that and the other thing.
And then there was this big thing about like Tamara Lich was a part of the what
Maverick
party, Wexit
Party.
Party or something like
Maverick
that.
Party.
Something like that. Yeah.
And they said that she was going to steal all the funds from that and put it towards the
Campaign.
The campaign.
Yeah, well, and they'll give whatever fucking story they need to justify it, but that really is a terrifying thing. Like you said, like anybody could just be instantaneously, we don't approve of your view, you're canceled. You're frozen, you're whatever you want to call it.
It's not, how do you say it? Like, it's not much different when you think about it with fiat, though. Like they froze all these people's assets, their accounts, everything. Like, they couldn't do anything. Like, obviously they're gunning towards going to like so everyone has like a CBDC. It's all digital and stuff. But like fiat's like, it's just numbers. Like no one has like, I don't have all my whatever I have for fiat like in cash. It's all in a bank. It's all just numbers
what is-
online. Like they can still do the exact same shit. I'm not like saying I think CBC is a fucking terrible idea. I don't want to see that.
That's the way it's going. though.
But the way our finance system is now, like, and it's still like they just keep, like we said, printing, right? Like it's still a bottomless bucket. Like
it's a
they
fucking
just
shell game, man.
What is fiat?
like
It's a really great car.
Well, besides that,
fiat's like our currency.
Oh, okay.
Like paper currency,
Oh,
right?
okay,
And
yeah.
then they want to go to like a CBDC or a central bank digital
Yeah.
currency. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, they kind of can control fiat essentially the same, right? Like we seen that an example when they froze everyone's accounts that donated. So I don't know. They have this overreach and this ability to do shit like that, which is ridiculous.
Massive overreach.
Like they shouldn't.
well, that's also after invoking the Emergencies Act. But
Well,
they were able
that
to do that.
was another fucking bullshit move by that Canada. But yeah, no, that's well, and again, like that Freedom Convoy thing, I think that was such a massive, even worse than the Emergencies Act in some senses, because this was people who had an opinion, a legal opinion. You know, it's their right to support that. It's their right to donate money. There was nothing going on that was, and like you said, under this bullshit guise that, oh, these people are terrorists, they just took $13 million, froze it, and said, fuck you guys, we don't care what you think.
It's fear.
Where's all
It
the
is.
The government was afraid.
Oh, they were. They
Because
were massively
finally
afraid.
the people stood up for themselves.
Well,
They were
yeah,
shit.
and they have to
they
squash it.
came there and the government can't have that now.
No.
That was
Like,
probably the biggest cowardly thing I've ever seen
Right,
a
like,
government do.
Massively.
the government needs to get back in the mentality of they work for us.
Yes.
And now they no longer work
They've
for us. They
been
think
so
that,
far gone from that for so many years.
yeah, like, you know,
we even
I know
have an
Trudeau
option?
he'll blame everything on Harper.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and like it's always the blame game, but that's what it was. People finally had enough and they stood up for themselves and the government saw that, and all of a sudden it's terrorism. It's
Yeah.
we gotta switch the script here, flip the script on this.
Yeah.
Now before
Send a spin, man.
people fucking like before everybody gets on that train and then they're in real shit.
Well, especially if they had any kind of even mediocre success, then the government would be like, oh shit, okay, if this one had this amount of success, and like you said, people are going to be like, oh, now I'm inspired, I think I can do something, and then the next one has a little more, and it's that snowball effect.
But you look at-
and they have to squash it, you know,
You
nip
look at
it in the
Tamara
bud.
Lich or whatever her name is, denied bail. Mm-hmm. Pat King denied bail. Chris Barber, $100,000 bail. Mm-hmm. And for what? For organizing a fucking protest.
They
Yeah,
got
a
they
convoy.
got their charges mischief, and
Yeah.
they're in jail for mischief. That's like a slap on the wrist, and
Yeah.
see you later after.
How
your
do you
court
hold
date.
someone without bail on mischief charges?
Right?
Like, where's all the
When you're
civil
the
rights?
government
Where's all the
who
civil
doesn't give a
rights
fuck.
But
lawyers
that
on
should
this
be
shit?
that people should be scared of that.
They
That's
should.
fucked up.
Because
It's terrifying.
So that you have people that are murdering people that are raping kids, and but
People-
these and doing all this disgusting shit, and three people that organized a protest that made the government realize, holy fuck, and then all of a sudden they're Canada's top criminal.
Oh yeah, like you go and look at like even just the public stuff from the police in town here. You'll see, oh, you know, we're looking for John Smith. He's, you know, had burglary, assault charges, this and that and the other thing. Failure to appear 50 times. and yet you're like, why do you keep fucking letting him go? He didn't have to pay $100,000
But
bail.
same with those like when they released a sex offender into the city
9
and-
times in a year.
That's terrible
Yeah.
here, hey? Like they
Oh, yeah.
reoffend and reoffend and reoffend.
Yeah, like that one guy, like he was on there fucking every month. He was on there. Like, why does he keep getting out?
Because he didn't make a
he
convoy
never-
happen. He just
but
attacked
he never did anything in jail for rehabilitation. He never did any of the stuff that. So he's a very high risk to reoffend. Then he comes out. He's out for a week, and then he's fucking doing the same shit.
Gets put back
then-
in. And,
He didn't
But
do
then-
anything to piss off the
Yeah, true.
far
yeah,
left
he didn't do
woke
enough to fucking
government.
actually make some change in the world, other than be a fucking scumbag.
And then you look at the BLM protest again. Like, people were trying to derail trains, and
Yeah.
nothing.
That's what I mean. Well, and it's a maddening fucking cycle. And it seems like, we were even mocking China in the beginning, how fucking crazy they are. Do you guys not feel that we're getting, like, step by step, we're getting closer to that?
Oh yeah, everything
Like,
he's just taking a
but
little
we
bit.
like to have the veneer of, we're a democracy and a woke country, and we have all these
taking just
freedoms.
little bits at a time.
Exactly. Like they're constantly just nitpicking, so you'll give up just one more freedom, one more thing.
Yep.
We have just a little bit more control.
And the thing that with that too is the scary part of it is you see all these people that are just like, here, take it.
Who just how many
And then-
people are
and
still
then-
wearing masks?
Yeah, and then they sit there and they look at you and you're the asshole. You're the bad guy. And
Yeah.
yeah, because I stand up for myself and whatever. But then you're gonna let the government tell you how to live your fucking life. Like that's exactly what life in Cuba is like. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're trying to do here.
Yeah.
And people are just, oh, it's not so bad. It's not this. It's not, like, and to go back to the beginning of this, like when CERB became a thing, all these people that, for sure, some people that lost their job and needed it. But then you have other people that had
Just felt like going on.
they just needed the CERB, right?
Yeah.
And then who's going to pay that money back? Who's going to, and then people are, dependent now entirely on government money. Mm-hmm. And I, not to sound like an asshole, but like everyone, we're not all equal. No. You and me, we're not equal.
No.
The guy that's standing outside of a fucking McDonald's holding a sign begging for money doesn't deserve free money just so he's the same as somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Go out and get a fucking job. There's a million of them out there right now. Mm-hmm. People don't want to work. People don't want to earn it, and I firmly believe that, the government wants to step on success.
Absolutely.
100%.
Especially if
they
it
don't
goes
want-
against their narrative or the way that they agree with. Like, they're fine with making people successful who are in the mix or at least
Yeah.
willing to play by their rules. But if even if you slightly step out of bounds, they will slap you and be like, "Look, this is the way we have it planned. If you fucking have a different one that kind of clashes with that, guess who's going to win? It's going to be us."
Yeah.
And with this freezing bank accounts and taking people's choices away, just to donate to a cause that they believe in, it's one more thing. And and of course, like we were talking about that whole news cycle, they tried to plow that under as fast as they could. And of course the war comes. Well, now it's let's all unite and get behind Ukraine and this and that. Let's forget about how our government just fucked us like what, a month and a half ago?
Yeah.
And like massively fucked us. Like you said, the Emergencies Act was fucking put down, like freezing back. But now it's like, all right, well, let's get this other, because people will get behind us being the good guys helping Ukraine, which, I mean, we're not really doing much for them.
No.
You put
Sending
that
it.
filter on your fucking Facebook. Great. You got a
Yeah,
fucking
thanks.
Ukrainian flag. I mean,
Thanks, Trudeau.
I'm sure fucking the kids that are, huddled, under their desks at school, terrified the bomb's going to hit, are like, well, at least Joe's got a fucking Ukrainian
Yeah.
flag on his profile pic. Thanks, bro.
How
Yeah,
virtuous.
right.
Stay strong,
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh Massier, for hashtagging hashtag Ukraine. You're making a world of difference.
That's
It's
right,
just
man.
fucked, man.
Thanks to FIFA for not allowing the Russian team to be picked anymore.
Yeah, no, they can't be in the World Cup of
Oh,
soccer
for
anymore.
fuck's sake.
Dipshits
I-
outside pouring out their Russian vodka. Like,
Yeah.
how's
Thanks SLJ
fucking
for
dumb
banning
can you be?
Russian vodka.
Yeah,
on the-
we are making massive changes.
I-
And like we were talking about with this whole China thing, when they invade Taiwan, which, I mean, they're pretty much ready to go, you think they're going to start taking Chinese-made products off the shelves?
No.
Not a fucking chance, because everything's made in fucking China.
Well,
like
that
everything.
I'm sure the guys in Ukraine are really happy that I ate pierogies for supper the other night.
Oh,
That
I'm
was
sure.
really
I'm
supportive
sure
of
that
them.
really helped them. They really boosted their spirits.
Yeah,
But
you never told us
This
that.
entire-
Good for you.
Yeah, you're
This
fine.
entire podcast is brought to you by China because everything we have is made in China.
the next one, we're all just sitting here real proper. Like,
Yeah.
thank you to the peaceful overlords. They just buy us and say, we don't like your opinions. Change them.
Thanks, Massa.
We all got John Cena t-shirts on.
Yeah. No, we're all. Next episode, we're gonna have to do a public apology to China.
Yeah. Come at me, China. I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck. But no, it's well, and that's another thing too. Like we're talking about, it's that whole mentality of the government where they seem like they're trying to be good. Like I said, like taking Russian vodka off the shelves. Making it so you can't pick a Russian team in a sports game on your X.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
is that doing anything?
trying to cripple their economy.
No, but
is
it looks
not-
good for the people who made the decision, right?
That's going backwards. We're going backwards.
It really is. It's
really
it's
fast.
literally taking away your choices, but they're going, oh, it's because we're woke and we're good people,
Yeah.
and it does nothing. It does
So you
absolutely nothing.
You
for the situation.
invade a country and essentially murder 20-some thousand people. I think so far.
Something like that.
And then it's well, you can't get Xbox Live in China or in Russia
Yeah.
anymore.
Take
boy.
that,
Oh,
motherfuckers.
You showed them, Bill.
Yeah,
Fucking yard sale.
The next day, Putin's just, I don't know if this was a good idea, guys.
I wanted to Call of Duty, but now I cannot.
I was just about double diamond status. Come on, man. Like,
so we're what are we, about an hour and 15 in?
yeah. Well, we can definitely wrap it up here. I think we all agree that the world is fucked.
Yeah.
And the only time you're allowed to have an opinion is if the government, kind of approves it beforehand.
Normally we have a lightning round with our guests,
Yeah.
but I found some tongue twisters on the
Yeah, you said you wanted
interwebs,
to-
so we wanted to see.
I wanted
if-
to put Justin through his
I want to do
paces.
that.
Let's see if Justin can get through these ones in one take. So you
one take.
start with one, and then you just flip through them. There's 4 different ones.
I read 'em, they're
just
not
be
that
happy
bad.
you don't have a dog collar
you gotta
attached to
say
your
you
neck.
gotta say them as fast.
Yeah,
as you
wait
can.
till that next episode.
Let's see.
I saw Susie sitting in a shore shop where she sits. She shings what? Where she shin? Are these words? Like are these like? That makes no
Jo-
sense.
is
And
Josh
Justin's
Chi-
having a
is-
stroke.
Josh is Chinese now.
These are like whoever wrote Biden's.
Yeah.
Whoever writes for Biden wrote
Biden's
these.
future speeches.
They just pick words out of
Yeah.
ass. The hair. Okay, one smart fella. He felt smart. 2 smart fellas. Then they both felt smart. 3 smart fellas. They all felt smart.
there you
Oh,
go.
fuck,
That
he's
was good.
good.
That was a good one.
He's good.
I'm not a pheasant plucker.
Yeah.
I'm a pheasant plucker, son,
almost
and
said
I'm
it.
only plucking peasants till the peasants pluckers come.
Oh wow, he's good.
Not bad.
One sock
fucked
cutter.
up.
He cuts socks. 2 socks cutters. They cut socks. 3 sock cutters. They cut socks. They all cut socks together.
Amazing
Oh,
that
he's good.
Josh found an anti-sock fucking tongue twister.
That had to be the last
I
one, too.
fucked up on those, and I said cocksucker so many times.
That was interesting. I haven't tried to do any tongue twisters in a minute.
That was
Thanks.
pretty interesting.
It's a
Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. Trying to say that 5 times fast.
No,
it's
I'm gonna
fucking damn
fuck
near
it up.
impossible. Well, I think that's the end of our fucking rant for the day, boys. Justin, thank you for being our guest.
Yeah,
Really
that
appreciated
was awesome.
having you on.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And we will definitely be back for our 17th episode as soon as we can. And we hope you guys all enjoyed getting wrecked
And
with us.
follow us on Facebook.
Follow us on
And
Facebook, Spotify,
Instagram.
on the street. If you see us walking around, wherever, we just need the attention.
Yeah, just throw something up.
All right.
Sunshine.
Peace out, people.
Fuju.
Fuju.
And crabs.
Hashtag Fuju.